Hey everyone, and welcome to People Drink Words, the podcast where we drink words, but not only. This episode 7 is a direct sequel to episode 6, where I had a conversation with Gilda about a variety of topics. She will still be with us in today's episode alongside Joshua Dooms, a very talented software engineer that I had the pleasure to work with for a few months. No topics barred, just an honest mature conversation with drinks. So I had a lot of fun recording this, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I have.
So, when you look at tech, and you were talking a little bit about this earlier, in terms of these ego battles in the in code review and all this stuff, it is it's a tough place to be. And there have been times where in my career, and I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do, there have been times when I've really had my confidence undermined to such an extent that I was like, am I good enough to do this? Am I in the wrong profession?
I see what you mean.
It's a hard job, and it takes a lot of. You get beat up a lot. It's in the profession, and in order to succeed long term, you have to be able to get beat up and get back up and get right back into it. And I think more than anything else, we don't teach our daughters to do that.
But that's what I was saying. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not just the skills. It's just the culture or the but it starts from the attitudes, the behaviors that you have to start from early on.
Your son falls over on his bike, skins his knee. You go, get up, son, get back on the bike.
Yeah.
Your daughter does anything. Oh, no.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you mean.
Quit being a whip. Get up. Go for it. You can do this.
The behavior needs to start from really early on.
But that's how we raise women differently than we raise men. And then we get to the point where we're in these careers that are rough and tumble, and sort of, people are merciless in code reviews and other things. And you need the skills that you need to survive that environment. Now, there are things we should do to make that environment better. Don't get me wrong. We should make that environment better for... And the thing is you hear this from women and gay men that leave the profession, is that it's just toxic. It's one of those environments. And men can create these toxic environments that aren't good for other people. But at the same time, we also need to, from a very early age, teach women to take the hits, get back up, stand up for themselves. Don't rely on daddy. Don't rely on mommy. You rely on you. You're tough.
Yeah, you can blame that.
That sounds fair. Because even when you talk about, say, things like the salary gap. Because if I talk to people around me that do also software development, like girls, which I don't know that many doing that, but compared to me or other guys I know, they won't ask for raise or go for something that they think is better for them to get paid what they're worth or what they think they're worth. They just stick to whatever they're given. Whereas we tend to go more say, okay, I'm worth better than that. I'm worth more than that. So I'm just going to do something else.
But and that's a confidence thing, and that was
because it's the same thing.
Yeah, because I'm part of one of the Women in Cable Telecommunications Association in Virgin Media as well. Well, it's independent, but it's a charity. And one of the things they were saying is precisely that. And I think there's some studies that have been done in terms of men, if a guy is going to go for a job, as long as they hit I don't know, I can't remember the percentage, but 8% of the skills, they go I can do this, and they go for it.
Yeah.
Whereas women tend to be very much reserved and I don't know if I can do that. And unless they are super kind of reassured, or they feel I can definitely fit this profile, and I have all the skills, or maybe I need to, then they go for it, but they're a lot more reserved. If they don't hit, I think I don't know, it's 40% or something of the role, they won't go for it. And guys won't go for it, because they'll be I can learn that, I'll go for it.
But let's not beat up women here. It's not a problem with women.
It's not a problem.
It's a problem with us. It's a problem
with everyone.
It's a problem with us as society. As we raise our girls, we need to teach them how to behave differently. And how to behave in such a way that is advantageous for them in these jobs. There are a lot of jobs where you don't see women work a lot. You don't see a lot of women in kitchens.
True.
Yeah.
They are rough, hard, toxic environments.
But that's when you need.
It's
True.
Yeah, 100%. But one way to teach them, one of the arguments to teach them, yes, as a society, everyone is responsible. But one way is by having role models, and that's what they say. Like sometimes role models are missing. It's just how do you make them available? Because there are women that do this, but how can you?
They are, and they're tough women, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
But to work in a kitchen, you have to not only be tough, but pride yourself on your toughness.
Yeah.
You look at any professional chef that I've ever seen. You look at their hands and their forearms, and they're cut and burnt and everything else. And if you've ever worked in a kitchen, you're gonna get burned. You're gonna get hurt. And in order to survive in that environment, you have to pride yourself on that toughness. Not only that, but then you've got other guys around you where they're creating an environment where they're giving each other a hard time about being a wimp. If they can't you can't pick up that plate with your hand? Well, you can't deal with hot stuff? And that's a hard environment to be in, but in the skills that you need to be in that environment are skills that we do not teach our young ladies.
Yeah, it's from babies. Yeah.
We don't expect our daughters to be tough. I'm going to expect my daughters to be tough. They're going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That's not thinking about raising a daughter. I think, well, no, that's the princess that's there, and you leave her on the side, take her away from labor, and but the boy's going to be the one that's going to be doing all the art stuff.
Yeah, and you don't tell her, get up, walk it off. Well, you fell down, get up. That's why I absolutely love Captain Marvel. I love that movie so much because it did exactly that. It showed a little girl that no matter what you did, she'd get up.
Yeah.
And that was, man, that was awesome to see that.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be teaching our daughters.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you have movies. You have Mulan as well. That does that. But I feel like if that movie came out today, but I don't know if you remember, there's that song "Be a Man," which is about like the army training and and Mulan is like in the army at that point. Their whole training, they're all terrible. They're like the worst of the worst. And well, she's even worse. Well, she's a woman, so she's not going to do great. But then throughout the song, you see the progression. Like she's doing bad, but as she goes, she becomes actually the best of everyone. And so it's about like being a man. It's like more about being tough, like about being better.
Regardless of
you can do it anyways. But I feel like if that song came out today, people say, "Well, what do you mean you need to be a man to be tough?" Like, no, it's like just be tough, whomever you are. How you? And you see that just Mulan is like inspires everyone else by climbing that thing towards the end of the song, and they're all becoming good out of nowhere. Which because Disney animation, but still, that's a really cool message that you have.
But if I have daughters, I'm gonna be hard on those little girls. I'm gonna make sure that they grow up tough. And the thing is when you have, and that's the other thing is people say, oh well, people just don't give women a chance in technology. Nothing could be further from the truth. If I see a woman's resume come across my desk, I'm the hiring manager now. She goes straight to the front. If she's got the skills, she's the first person that I'm going to schedule an interview with.
If she's good.
Because
me too.
Because if you've got a woman that's good technically, normally she also brings to the table this host of other skills that we do teach women, to reduce the ego, to not be boorish, those types of things that are so important for a development group. It's really hard to establish a culture of support and less ego and not conflict, and to have people do code reviews where they're helping each other, where they're teaching each other, where they're not trying to show how good they are. Like, nobody cares who's the best.
Yeah, you want to get something done in the end, but it can be hard as well to not try to explain it. Like, okay, so that's why the thing might not work, or explaining your point of view, without necessarily coming across as somebody who's trying to show that you're better. So you have to find sort of the balance when you talk through them with people, which I find hard to do sometimes, because I feel like I'm just too braggy when I think I'm helping, but maybe I'm not coming across that way in reviews.
Did you ever see the pull request they did for code review guidelines?
For code review guidelines? I think... I was still doing,
the one that was saying, don't make bold declarative statements, focus on.
Yes, I remember that. There we go.
Yeah.
I think I wrote the inspired blog article from me as well. Yes.
So it was ask questions. Don't make bold declarative statements.
Yeah.
Because if you tell somebody that's wrong, don't do that. All you're asking for is a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go, hey, would it be better if, or what was the purpose for doing that thing? This might be a better way to do it.
It's a different conversation immediately.
You give them the opportunity to express why they did something, or they just go, oh, it's because I'm a moron. And I frequently in code reviews, my response to somebody pointing something out is, no, that's because I'm a moron. Sorry. and of course, most of the time when somebody points something out to me in code review, I fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And almost never is there that type of thing. But every once in a while, I'll be like, no, I think that's the right way to do it. Da-da-da. And this is why, and, but yeah, and right now my team is ridiculous. They're ridiculously good. We just don't have a lot of those battles at all. And actually that's the other thing too, so the team determines our standards. So the team determines the standards by which we review our code. So it's not, I say this is what we do. It's we get together, we discuss it, and then as a team, we basically decide what we're going to do. And we try to get to consensus, and if we can't get to consensus, we get to majority.
It's fine, it's like more people agree on the thing, then if you don't like it at all, if you despise the rule, you might as well leave. If you can't live with that rule, just leave it. But if you can, just deal with it and follow what's better for the team.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my team, even if I don't like the idea, I'm going to fall in line and do what we say. Because we're bound by our rules, so we have to maintain this. It's not, and the reason why I do that is because I'm never going to know everything as a leader in technology. My team's collective knowledge is always going to be better than mine. Always.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's important.
The thing, it's hard to figure what's trend, what's not trend, what you hear, whether it's the media or politicians, what they tell you, because you assume, you can see on other issues, say somebody commits a crime, I think there was the Bill Clinton thing. Bill Clinton with make a mistake, I guess you know about that. And you'd have people saying, well, take him down, what he's done is wrong. There was that one thing which had nothing to do with his politics, but I think that was the part where he perjured himself, something like that.
So basically what happened with Bill Clinton was he basically was getting it on with a intern.
Yes.
At the White House, and somebody asked him about it inside of another inquiry, and he lied. And he lied because I can understand where the guy's come from. It's nobody's business, except for maybe Hillary's.
Except for maybe yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I understand the politics of the time. I mean, and what he did was wrong. I mean, but at the same time, it had nothing to do with anything in regards to, other than the fact that he took advantage of an intern, which I think in and of itself is fundamentally wrong. Yeah. I mean, he definitely should have been censured for that, because you don't. As a 60-year-old president, you don't shtup the intern at the White House.
Was he 60 already by that time? Yeah. Well, regardless of the age.
Either way, he's
like
a 50 or 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
He's somewhere in that area. He was an old, maybe he was in
the president as well. So
he's a president.
Iron rank of power.
Yeah. Oh God, this is an intern. I mean, come on, man. And that is definitely taking advantage of your position.
Yeah.
You can take more advantage than being president towards an intern, right?
Yeah. But I think. Yeah, I mean, definitely there was all sorts of wrong in that. But at the same time, and I do not like the Clintons at all. I see them as people that speak to the left, but their primary concern is lining their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the policies. The policies of the Clintons, they were there for the deregulation of the banking industry, which would cause the global financial meltdown. Mm-hmm. That was them. The repeal of Glass-Steagall was signed into law by Bill Clinton, none other. They did privatizing of prisons, federal prisons. At the same time they did that, they did really stiff penalties for 3 strikes rules that would put people in prison for how long? And they got paid for it. They got paid by the... You ask how much Hillary or Bill gets paid to go talk at Goldman Sachs because they did all this banking deregulation.
Ridiculous,
I think they get paid something like $200,000 a pop.
Yeah, I think
Just
all
to go
presidents that do this, like even Sarkozy, that's why in France, like doing those talking like in convention and stuff, where he just paid loads. Just paid loads for this. But yeah, so that's the thing, like if you see a side, like whether it's left or right, you can see a story happening on the left side of government or like political spectrum, maybe that's the story. And you have people on the right that will just scream out, we need to take them down, that's terrible, that's unconstitutional, whatever word that's thrown at them. Then you have the same story flipped around. And you see the opposite happening. Then nobody on the right would say anything, but people on the left are like, oh, that's disgusting, we need to just take them down. And that's the thing that makes me just have very little trust in what politicians in general can tell you, because if you're going to choose when something is wrong based off whose side you're on, how can I trust you with like doing things in my interest?
Bigger decisions.
Yeah. I think one thing we can guarantee politicians do is act in their own interest.
And the things that politicians they also as people like us, like I can't tell for 100% that if I become a politician tomorrow, I won't become exactly like all the other politicians we see out there. Because I think, I can go like with ideas and stuff. Like, okay, I'm going to change this, change that, I'm going to do this and that. But because since I am assuming that they're all people like us to begin with, and they become in a certain way afterwards, and like just defending their own interests, as we would, if we weren't politicians, if you're doing your own career, you're going to act in your own interests primarily. And if your own interest lines up with, say, the company that employs you, that's perfect, and then you just stay there and everything works great. But then for politics, the things that their job is to do things that will work great for, well, us. But it doesn't seem to always align with what's great for them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to work at all. I mean, you look right now at, the talk about healthcare in the States. And literally nobody is addressing the underlying flaws. So you've got Sanders on one side, who I quite like. I really like Bernie Sanders. I think he is a person who speaks from his ideals and is intending to do exactly what he says. And I really, he's so consistent. I like the guy. A lot. But then you hear about what he wants to do with healthcare, which is actually a good idea in that he wants to go single payer. Fine. But going single payer doesn't address the underlying problems of the healthcare system. The underlying problems of the healthcare system is that we as Americans pay way too much for healthcare services. And the things causing that are not going to be addressed just by transferring the payee to be the federal government. You need to put in place an oversight team that is politically independent, hopefully nominated, hopefully from people actually who are healthcare, who are professionals that have worked in healthcare and dealt with patient care at some point in their life. I would literally go, okay, I would write a law that's like, okay, A, we're going to go single payer, but then B, we're going to basically set up a council, and their job is to make sure that A, the policies and procedures that are in place for our healthcare system are based in science, that we actually look at patient outcomes, that we start tracking patient outcomes and information about that. Not stuff that anybody can look at other than healthcare professionals and anonymously. So you don't know who patient 0 is, but you can see their whole history. You can see how they're treated, what happened, everything there's, and we need to basically standardize that across all things. So then we can actually start looking at patient outcomes. It just becomes a data mining experiment, right? They came in with these complaints, we did this was the outcome. And eventually you get to a system that tells you how to treat patients, that tells you what the best treatments are. But then additionally, that council has another job. And that other job that council has is to make sure that we pay as little as possible for the best care possible, right? It's to basically create policies and procedures that prevent people from getting overcharged for equipment, for drugs, for procedures. And right now, the whole process of getting healthcare in the United States is completely corrupt, and it's basically built on people trying to make money. So I remember.
That's how it sounds like. That was it? Martin Shkreli, the guy who like increased one of the AIDS medicine by some ridiculous percentage, like in the thousands, which people said hate him. And actually, that's not even the thing that. So he's in jail now, but that's not even the thing that got him in jail. He got in jail for, I think that he put together some sort of scheme to rob, but not rob, like, I would say. What's the word for that?
Are you talking about Martin Shkreli?
Martin Shkreli, yes. Like, he went to jail, but not for that. He went, because that was legal what he did, like, increasing that medicine price by like 1,000-something%.
Yeah.
And just some people didn't rely on that. Like, people probably died because of that thing.
Absolutely.
And it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But then, like, I think he hid money or funds from investors, and that's the thing that got him sent to jail.
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with the whole medicine price thing,
Yeah.
which a lot of people get angry about, but nothing happened around. Like, there wasn't no policy change, nobody talked about it anywhere as far as I know, and pretty much everyone forgot about it afterwards.
No, that's true. And basically, he just went in there, found a drug, and I can't remember for what condition it was for, but it was absolutely necessary for people to survive. He just upped the cost of it. And didn't improve anything about the drug, really.
Just literally like, I can
the same thing.
this is like clearly just to make more money. I can make more money with this.
Yeah. And that whole system is corrupt. I remember one time I had some problems. Oh, my ear so I'm deaf in one ear.
All right. Oh.
Can't hear in this one. And my right ear got clogged with wax. So I go to an ENT, and I haven't been able to hear since I was 8. And I go in to the ENT, and he, of course, he cleans out my ear, which is what I needed, and I can hear again because my ear is just gummed up with wax. I got one ear; if it's clogged up, I can't hear. Most people, if one ear gets clogged up with wax,
you can sit here on
and eventually it clears itself and it's fine. My ear gets clogged with wax. It's like you're talking to me and I'm under water,
Yeah.
Anyway, so he convinces me that I need to get an MRI.
Why?
Because my loss of hearing might have been caused by a brain tumor.
What?
Now, hold on a second. So in retrospect, looking back on that, I'm a moron. I lost my hearing at 8. If I had a brain tumor,
you would be dead.
I was. This is maybe 7 years ago. I'm like 30. Let's just say I'm like 37, 38 years old, and he convinces me that I need an MRI. Well, why did he convince me that I need an MRI? Well, what do you think his motivation was?
Well, you get charged for it.
The costs.
He gets a referral.
Right.
So because he referred me for an MRI. The people that charge me for the MRI, which charge my insurance for the MRI, and I actually had to pay as well because there's a copay associated with it. He got paid because he referred me for the MRI. So the office that does the MRI, not him, but they pay him to refer patients to them.
Oh, such a business.
Yeah. Like, and you can easily make money if you don't care about people.
So you're being incentivized to get people
to take procedures.
That they don't need because you're going to get money.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I see why, obviously, but it's wrong.
So what do you think the chances are that my hearing loss was caused by a tumor?
None.
Yeah, and
very low. But none too low.
I don't think you live with a tumor in general. Like, I don't think you live very long.
Yeah, brain tumor is a big thing.
You can live for a long time as long as it doesn't grow and it doesn't, but if I had brain cancer from 8 years old, I would be well dead.
At 30 something, yes.
And he knew that. He knew my history. I told him, So he knew that, And what's funny is I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh my God, I may have cancer. Such a moron. I should have been like, nah, I'm good.
Nah, that's just nice.
Or you'd be like some superhuman and resist cancer for like 30 years.
Yeah, maybe he would try to get my DNA so he could patent it. That's another thing that one of those DNA testing places, when you sign up for them to test your DNA,
they get your DNA.
You agree to them being able to patent any unique DNA that you have.
Wait, what? Oh, that's...
So that's your DNA.
That's good.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I mean, why would it, what? Yeah.
But yeah, nobody's gonna read this because it's kind of like, oh, I want to know who my ancestors are, and not even gonna bother reading. Like anything else, like Facebook or Twitter, you don't read the conditions for. You say, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, oh, I just want to put some my picture of my holidays or whatever, and yep, accept, and you sign everything away. So yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, but, you know, those are the things. I mean, we're, you know, just watching how all this works, it's really sort of sickening that we haven't, and that's the other thing, we haven't improved on. So this is one of the things that's really hitting me lately and really making me think, is we haven't improved upon governmental structure since the Age of Enlightenment. And if anything, we're actually reducing. So, sorry.
Really? I think Enlightenment, I want to say Enlightenment is like the 70s, no, 18th century? Like,
yeah, 17.
Okay.
So the Age of Enlightenment was the period right around the founding of the United States.
Yeah. So late 18th, early 19th.
Yeah, exactly. Late 17th, early 18th. Late 17th.
Oh, sorry, I meant century, yeah. But,
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, exactly. I always get centuries confused.
Yeah, they're confusing, and it's like,
It's one layer.
You just like minus one, and that's a century.
Whoever
and then
came
it's
up
like,
with the idea of centuries, somebody way back in the day just messed that up entirely. They should have called it the 0th century. See, it wasn't from a programmer.
yeah.
If it had been from a programmer, it would
We
have
do
been
things right. It's like
Clearly-
0, and
clearly
then...
they didn't have
It definitely would have
Yeah.
been 0, based indexing right there.
Same.
Programmers get it right.
Yeah. The whole
Good day.
century, maybe that's how we can go about it. Yeah.
Right, but if you think about it, these ideas of separation of powers, the separation between the federal and the states, and distributing the power evenly, so that basically that's the only way to really checks and balances and distribution of power is the only way to really develop a decent governmental system, and that's great. But we haven't refined those ideas. We haven't improved on governmental systems since the late 1700s, early 1800s.
No.
And the people have tried. Forgive him, but Karl Marx tried. He screwed that up royally. Well, I don't know. You know what's funny is I haven't read the Communist Manifesto, but so many people have implemented it so badly. I'm just beginning to think that it's been very confusing for people. But we have not. Nobody has really, started looking at governmental theory. And the thing that's really bothering me is we see the undermining of our democratic institutions in the modern world.
Yeah.
And part of it is because we've allowed for the consolidation of power by money and media.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though the media part seems to fade when you think about, money actually. Companies like YouTube, you see I don't know if you better say people getting cancelled. Like if you get a certain amount of resources of support behind you, no matter what comes your way, you'll be fine. Like for best or worse. Like Dave Chappelle, you can't cancel Dave Chappelle because you don't like his jokes.
I mean, Dave Chappelle.
Dave
Chappelle, that Sticks and Stones was profound.
Yes, it was really good. I watched it on this TV right here. And that was a great show. Nice.
It really was, and he talked about real things that people just don't talk about. He was talking about Louis, which you hear me go off about Louis C.K. all the time.
Oh yeah.
He got beat up in that Me Too movement.
Oh yeah, when he died on that
And I remember hearing about it, and the two comedians that were just telling the story. They were like, we were at this festival and we were having a great time. We were just starting to get a lot of publicity. And we met Louis, and we really looked up to him because he was a great comedian. And then we were hanging out, and we went back to his place, and then he asked if he could jerk off in front of us, and we just laughed, and then he did. And then we went away, and we would tell the story at parties because it was really funny.
Yeah.
And then his publicist called us and asked us to stop telling that story. That it was really embarrassing for Louis. Oh my God, we're such victims. And it's like,
No.
Yeah. If Hilda called me up and was like, "Oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me today. This guy asked that he could jerk off in front of me, and I like watched him, and oh my God, I'm such a victim." I'd be like,
No.
Babe?
Yeah.
It's not like there's a door.
There was a door, you could have said no, you could have like, yes.
You could have been like, "I don't want to see that."
Yeah, where you change, like, where you like, attach it, like, no, it's fine.
Not only that, so apparently this has happened multiple times where he's asked women to jerk off in front of him.
Yeah, sure, I mean, it's his thing, he gets enough.
Mind you, creepy as shit.
Creepy,
Yeah.
but, like,
Nothing
people
that
have
you
different
personally
things.
do, but like, they could leave.
Yeah. Well, no.
So he's not
So what's
forcing
funny is he asked one woman if he could do that, and she said no, and he didn't jerk off in front of her.
Oh, right. Which sounds when you hear all those other stories, you see like, oh, that's surprising. Like, you actually listen to reply because if you don't say anything, that's
yeah.
and you have the context like you want to have a specific answer like, well, say yes.
Yeah.
But in that context, they can leave. They can literally just walk the door.
But that's the thing. Like, yeah, you might be like a bit like, oh, that was unexpected. Okay, I'm not sure what to do now. But I mean, you don't have to stay there. You feel uncomfortable. You have to react and say like, that's not my thing actually. So I'm gonna step out.
Or you can say stop when it starts. Like, that's.
Yeah.
Could you please leave your dick in your pants?
Yeah, exactly.
Put it back. There we go.
Actually, that's not my thing. So please put it away. So yeah.
I don't want to see that angry little red thing. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Well, it is Louis. You know it's going to be fire engine.
No.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, they didn't have a gun to their heads, and you have to say.
No,
Then we can go back to that assertiveness thing that we're talking about. Like, if the guy is like, no, fuck you, but girl might not say no easily. So maybe it goes back to that, like how we raise girls.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
When she won't dare to say, no, don't.
Yeah, you should be confident at any point to say no. I mean, no one's forcing you to do anything, and especially something like that. You just say,
No, fuck
No.
off.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can get the surprised laughing, like you laugh because don't know what's going on, like, oh yeah, that's a joke, oh great one. But then when you see him start, like until like react, like
Yeah, just
I
react.
can't imagine not reacting to that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they sat there and watched him jerk off.
That's the thing, all the way through, they could have, well, yeah. They could have left.
Yeah,
Unless you block the door, unless you block the door physically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you block a door when you're sitting on a couch doing this?
You could have pushed the couch in front of the door and say, you are not leaving this room until...
What's a skilled person doing all this stuff?
Now, that, by the way, that's not to reduce how important the Me Too movement is or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because
No.
honestly, there are absolute
That's important.
terrible human beings out there in
But
Hollywood.
there's got to be a line, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
got to be.
But the thing is like Louis C.K., his career was just halted at its pinnacle. And he's so good. I mean, have you seen, I don't know if you've seen the show, but I'm sure that's
I
off
haven't seen
Netflix now. You can't watch that anymore.
Actually, I tried to find some, but...
Yeah. It's really, that show is amazing. His show is amazing.
Mhm.
His stand-up's really good too.
But actually, I heard it's like, he went to a festival a few weeks ago. But like some people on Twitter say, yeah, no, he shouldn't be allowed to come back ever again. Like his life should be done. What? Like from what I heard he did, like from the whole jerk-off thing in front of the door, maybe in front of the door, maybe not in front of the door.
Not in front of the door.
Not in front of the door then. That's, so they could have left at any point.
Yes.
Why would you cancel his whole career? Like, how would you just, remove him his livelihoods? What do you expect him to do? Just go die in a corner? So I feel like that's what seems expected from people who get caught in those stories, whether right or wrong. That it's not just, okay, let's call them out because what they're doing is wrong. It's ideally, if they could just, disappear from the surface of the earth, that'd be great. That's how it sounds like, actually all the time. All the time, every number of those hashtags, cancel that guy, cancel that girl, cancel everyone. I think, if they died tomorrow in a car accident, you'd be happy, you'd be dancing on their tongue. Which I find wrong. I just feel like it's really
that's
wrong.
that is wrong. That's too much. I mean, unless they did, but not in those circumstances. I mean, unless they did like something absolutely horrendous, then you may think differently.
Yeah.
Well, no, Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby, there you go. That's what I was.
And who's the other one? I just mentioned his name, didn't I? The Miramax guy.
Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. These two.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them there, but like, if they go to jail for what they've done, like that'd be more than fair.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
Exactly.
Well, Bill Cosby is.
Yeah. Well,
and Harvey Weinstein better.
I thought he was, but turns out he isn't. Because he was at the festival not long ago, like for young actors, where he was part of the jury.
Bill Cosby?
Not Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein.
Really?
Yeah. It was like
a
fundraiser for young comedians or young actors. And so there was a bunch of stand-up people, and there was a girl who said, we make the joke about it, and she's like, oh, she didn't know she had to bring her own rapist or something like that. And yeah, but she poked fun at him being there. And so people would say, well, just kick him out. And in that case,
yeah,
he shouldn't be there. Like,
no.
The whole thing is like him taking advantage of young actresses, like mirroring them careers improvements or like, a bright career. And you see him at the fundraiser for young actors where young actors are performing. That seems wrong.
It's fun.
That's one specific case where I think, okay, fuck that guy, and he should not be, especially in that context of young actors when he's infamous for taking advantage of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of people who use taking advantage.
You know what's really funny is Courtney Love. Did you ever hear this about Courtney Love?
I think you told me. No, you told me.
Courtney Love's a train wreck of a human being.
Yeah, very much.
But when I think she got an Oscar nomination, maybe an Oscar for People vs. Larry Flint. She was really good in that movie. It's a good movie.
Seen it.
It's got Woody Harrelson, her in it. It's basically about Larry Flint, the publisher of Hustler.
Hustler, I know Hustler, but I don't know Larry Flint.
Oh, you should check out the movie. It's good. All right. It's called People vs. Larry Flint, who's the publisher of Hustler magazine, which was always like the dirtiest porn magazine in the States. It was like Playboy. You'd see some stuff, but you wouldn't see other stuff. So you would see breasts, and you might see just a little bit of bush or something. Penthouse you'd see a bit more, and Hustler's like.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to admit, I like Larry's style. Anyway, but so Courtney Love, when she was really famous for that, at that moment, she had that moment, and somebody asked her in a place. So if you had something to tell young actresses at this moment, about the business or any advice, she'd go, yeah. If Harvey Weinstein asked you to a party, don't go.
Oh, I think I heard about that. When there was a Me Too Sphinx story.
It's on video. You go watch it sometime. It's crazy. And this is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this for 20 years. And the thing is, Courtney Love, she might be a train wreck of a human being. But it's people like that you can sort of trust what they say. Mm-hmm. To a certain extent, people that are completely, might be messed up.
Don't reach out.
But you get a sense of when I say you can trust what they say in that context, you go, all right, if she said that.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Because she's a sort of a rough and tumble lady herself. She's no, shrinking violet. This is Courtney Love here. So. Yeah, I was just so that was definitely a red flag right there. Somebody should have looked into it right then. It's like Courtney Love said that.
I think probably people looked into it and didn't care. Maybe it didn't piss out. I'm feeling like if he's been doing that thing for so long, for it to come out when it came out, he has to have pissed off the wrong person.
I was going to say people knew about
that story out there.
Yeah.
I think it was a time and place too, because the Cosby thing was happening at the same time. I think it's just a now sort of thing. All right. I want to say, can I say really offensive stuff on this? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. Cool.
It's not monetized anyway, so there's no sponsor or anything.
So the one thing that nobody talks about in this whole Me Too movement is that there is literally, even now, thousands of people in Hollywood that are perfectly willing to suck a dick to get at.
Yeah.
There's people that
probably
are
not just in Hollywood.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
In careers and any that the areas.
Yeah. Fully understand.
Yeah.
And so you look, and especially, and I guess I say in Hollywood, especially in Hollywood, because there are a million people who can do the same job.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying really hard to get in there. And it's really about who you know and everything else.
Yeah.
In that environment where there are those folks, I think it creates the monsters. I think the monstrous people, right? Then put in that environment. And despite all the Me Too and everything else, there's still going to be people that get blowjobs in back rooms to get parts.
Probably.
Yeah, of course.
And
yeah, I think so.
What I think it does, though, is I think it corrupts very corruptible people.
Mm-hmm.
In that environment encourages beasts like him to think, oh, this is normalized behavior.
I can get away with it.
Yeah,
I can do this.
Yeah. Because this is because there are people that are offering it to me,
yeah.
And then there are people that don't offer. But if I ask them, maybe they'll,
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. That's
So I think there's probably a lot less asking nowadays. There's more like, oh, you're willing to. Oh, you've offered to do this. Okay.
Yeah. I agree. There's that too.
Whereas I think the environment where people are offering sort of creates the environment where people are asking.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because say, oh, well, that one offered that, so why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, she offered me a blowjob. Why can't you give me a blowjob?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
At this point, it could be either one of you gets the part.
No, it's true. That's the thing. That's the crazy thing, and the thing that nobody's gonna really want to say, because you think, nobody does it. Nobody does any of that. Nobody asks. Nobody offers. But we know that's a thing in the world for any job. And and the thing is, I'm wondering. So, what about the successful ones who did use these means, like giving blowjobs to get parts? We haven't heard stories from them. Like at least they haven't admitted to anything, so we can't know. I would say, like we'd assume that the whole fight they didn't take shortcuts to get where they are, but we know about the ones that for whom it didn't work out, or like the careers that went sideways, or that we don't really hear about anymore, because that's what seemed to happen when I saw like the names of people coming out. So I have no idea who that is. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Never heard of that name. I mean, okay, so is it because it didn't work out that you called him out, even though what he did was wrong? But would you have said something if your career went fine?
I think that there are a lot of things. Really, I've seen some actresses that I wonder what happened because they were amazing. Like Mira Sorvino is one that comes to mind. There's several that I think probably were completely hosed by. Ashley Judd is another one. Not that she's as great of an actress, but her career just went gone, snuffed out.
Yeah. So do you think it might have been because?
Oh, I think it very much was, because I think somebody basically said, "Oh no, she's really hard to work with." And the thing is when you hear that, I mean, if you're a decent person and you hear really hard to work with, that doesn't mean she wouldn't suck my dick. Yeah. That means she's a pain in the ass on the set.
Yeah.
Which is, those are two completely different things, right?
Yeah.
But if the person has a reputation in the environment as as a mogul or whatever, you go, oh, they said that person's really hard to work with. Maybe I should consider that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got these three actresses. Oh, well, of course I'm going to take the one that I haven't been told is a pain in the ass to work with.
Sure.
Yeah. Somebody told me that she's a joy to work with. She's great, always on time, knows her lines, da-da-da. Doesn't have these diva moments. And then I've got another one who apparently is just, just hard to work with, diva, da-da-da-da. And no, career done.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's another side of that thing, of that. So that you can, wield your power then to ruin someone because they don't fall in line with everyone else.
Yeah. But but again, I don't think the Me Too movement is going to stop that shit from happening.
No.
Too many
it still
people
happens.
Perfectly willing to do it. I think it's probably stopped the asking.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, as in the asking was a big part of the problem.
Yes.
Because a lot of people not necessarily dare to say no, but if you don't get asked, you're not going to necessarily offer.
I think the offering is probably a bit of a problem too. We should probably hold those people accountable as well.
Yeah.
For creating that kind of culture, or encouraging as well that kind of culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think when you look at that situation, they're both bad form, right?
Yeah.
Because anybody that comes in after you, you're creating a situation in which they have to compete on that level.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's wrong. That's fundamentally wrong. So it would be nice if, as part of this whole movement, that we address the people that offer such things.
Yeah, that as well.
Or use such things as a means of getting a leg up. Because that's creating that culture and that environment.
True. But the thing is, you won't find them. Like, you won't necessarily know about them existing. Either it goes fine, and if it goes wrong, they won't come out and say, oh yeah, actually I offered a blowjob. My career failed anyways, so I'm going to call it out. So I wouldn't see someone, they won't mind, like, bring themselves.
You know what they should do
know.
is they should create a situation where, like, if you're a decent, like, director or whatever, somebody comes in and goes, suck your dick if I get that part, you can be like, no, it's one of the dick suckers, get him out of here.
Yeah, so it's to be the person in power.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't rely on it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but yes, actually, the ones receiving the offer could say, no, don't.
That's not how I roll.
Yeah.
But, really,
What's that?
I mean, I would be. I think you're offering, okay. It's human reality. It's just what it is.
I love how Hilda's the one that goes, yeah, I don't see that happening.
Come on.
Yeah. I think that would cause a massive reduction in the amount of blowjobs that person is offered. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, that's...
That would be the right thing to do, but it is not, yeah.
No pun intended.
Sorry.
Yes.
But I guess that's the thing, like, I thinking about, like, environments like in IT or, actually, most companies nowadays, you have, like, those startups and stuff where you don't have the chance of this environment, as in, you have, like, those glass doors, literal glass doors, so you can't do anything unless everybody knows and is okay with it. That can't happen, even if you want to. So maybe it's just, how about to do auditions in the glass room?
You mean just have all offices are completely glass doored?
But yeah.
I mean, that would help.
But
not a great solution, but
if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I think it's always gonna be a
like, okay, let's go to Starbucks instead of no.
Or the bathroom.
Oh no.
Oh no, that's
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I accidentally walked into the girls' bathroom the other night at the company drinks.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was leaving and I just immediately I realized this is all true. Oh! It just immediately ducked out. Nobody saw me, thank God. I was just like, and, it's just one of those things where you're like, because the building, the building I'm in, it's like samey everywhere. It's just, And so I literally walk. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this on film. Maybe cut this part.
Yeah, I can into a bunch of stuff like that.
But yeah, that happened. The thing is you're just
there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, you're just overwhelmed with embarrassment. The moment it happens, you're like, oh, wrong room. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just glad nobody was there. Nobody saw me. Because that would have been hella embarrassing.
But it was a mistake. I don't think that's so embarrassing.
Oh, you walk in the wrong room, like, okay, that's cool. I mean...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, had you seen something, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But no.
And if
two people are getting it on, I'd be like, oh, son of a...
And worst case scenario, just identify as a woman and you'd be fine to leave the bathroom. Safe. You'll be safe. Just for the 5 minutes and then you walk out. Nobody gets hurt and you're good.
I'm experimenting with my gender identity.
What? Is there something we need to talk about?
No, babe, long hair and tits is as close as I get to being a woman.
Alright. Okay. I get it.
Yeah. Gender talks. Actually, let's not go there, actually. Actually, we can. Through Dave Chappelle.
I have no issue with people. I worry about folks when they do want to change their gender. I wonder. I wonder sometimes because the people that I've. It's funny recently. So one of the guys that I used to play darts with. This guy Dan became Danielle. I just if you'd asked me whether or not
you didn't see that coming.
What's that?
You didn't see that coming, or
no, not at all.
Okay,
no, not at all. I just nothing. And I just never. And I think that's sort of a different thing. You've got a man who's I think he's probably in his 50s.
Wow.
And that's a different thing. But I worry about people that, especially folks that feel like they're a different gender, but maybe that's not. I guess you shouldn't you shouldn't second guess those folks. I mean, what I think about it is like, if my kid came to me and says, "I think I'm a woman," at an age before puberty, I would be like, "Oh." I would probably want to, unless like some sort of professional, to figure out whether or not this is real. And know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they're going through so many like hormonal changes and all this stuff. They probably want to wait
Well,
until
and
they're
the thing
sure.
is you want to, if you want to be gender reassigned,
Yeah.
you want to do that before puberty.
What?
no, that'd be a big
Before?
deal for me.
Maybe after?
So, all right. So think about what that means.
Because you're still changing. So.
Well, no. I mean, think about what that means. If you are, say, you're a girl.
Yeah.
You don't think you're a girl.
You feel like a man.
Yeah, you're like a dude. And you go, yeah. So what happens at puberty? Well, you become a woman. Like you go from being genderless as a child
Yeah.
to being very much one gender or the other. And fixing that after the fact is pretty hard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean, but at the same time, I would not touch that. Like, as in, if I get a child that comes to me before puberty and says me, okay, like as a boy, that's like, oh, I think I'm a girl. I'm like, right, cool, like do whatever you want, but no chemicals before you can drink and drive. They can do whatever they want. Like after all, I wouldn't, because what if it's just a phase that's alright?
That's
Maybe they don't.
But what if it isn't?
Yeah,
What if it isn't? The
You're still
consequences-
developing, yeah.
If
right?
it
You're still,
isn't,
like-
they can still try later. There are people that transitions later in life. Like, well, that
I would say so.
Well, you can, but it's
Is it gonna be harder?
It's and the thing is your body's already developed as a man or a woman, and you can never change that. You can't change the fact, but you can't. You can't really change the fact that you developed as a man, and now you can take hormones to make you more womanly.
Yeah.
But literally, your body has already changed into that masculine form.
Yeah, but you gotta be like in a very specific situation, and I'm super sure that is the situation. Like if you change before even your puberty, because you're too young.
And that's why I said I would want to talk to a professional.
Absolutely. In any case,
Because I would want to go to somebody who actually specializes in this thing and go, hey, my kid said this. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
Because I would hate to screw that up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Alright, I see where it comes from.
If you get that wrong,
Mm.
it could be terrible for your child.
Yeah, for their
Yeah.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
But either
Yeah,
way,
that's
either
why
way
it
would be terrible.
No, it could be absolutely horrible if they reassigned and that was the wrong decision.
It was exactly that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah.
you have to be super sure.
But I wouldn't trust myself to make that decision. I would want a professional.
Absolutely.
Either a psychologist or somebody who works
Yeah.
in that field, hopefully even specializes in that field, to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff. To say, are they really clearly identifying as the other gender?
Different gender.
And will they have a better life? And I know that there's no 100% certain answer. I don't.
That's the thing. I don't think we're in the right generation to have professionals that will have enough experience, or we have gone through enough experiments to have a good answer for us now. Maybe in 50, 100 years, there'll be enough people that will have gone through that. But no, I don't see that. Nobody's really has a positive answer.
We've probably all got 12 years minimum before we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of it. Well,
We did not want to deal with this, okay?
I don't ever want to have to deal with that because that's got to be such a hard decision. For a human being, much less somebody that young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. And then somebody who's lived their whole life as a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who's transitioning right now is if you go to the George.
Yeah.
The young lady, her name now is Nico,
Mm-hmm.
but she used to be Nicole.
Okay.
And you can see her now. She's starting to get some scruff. She's taking on hormones and stuff, and she's transitioning to a man. She's the German lady.
I'm sure.
Blonde hair, short blonde hair.
Okay. Yeah.
And she's starting now to look more masculine. So now she's like in that state where it's like, man, woman.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Right. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know, but the thing is like her body's feminized. You know, she's got breasts. She's got all these things that she probably didn't. And the thing is, it's like she probably never wanted those. You know.
Sure.
And she's got hips and everything else. She can't. There's no fixing that. Yeah.
True.
It's one of those things. You know. So I mean. So it's tough. I really feel for her now going through that.
Mm.
You know. But yeah. I mean, I just hope my kids come out, you know, what is it, cisgendered? Is that the right term?
I don't even know.
I don't know. But yeah, like the gender, they are.
I think
how they feel.
if you aren't, you know, if your gender and your actual, are aligned, you're cisgender. I think
if you're aligned, yeah, let's use that. So.
Yeah. If you're,
I feel like not offensive, like so let's say if you're aligned.
Yeah. If your body is aligned with your gender, your gender.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, who am I to second guess, you know, people's decision about who they are in terms of their gender? That's got to be the most personal thing on the planet, right?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't agree for children because children, like if you don't trust children with things like drinking, smoking weed, voting, do you want to trust them on changing their body in a potentially permanent way, when there's nothing telling us that it's safe to do, or that it's even that they're that the mindset that leads them to that ideation is something that's going to stay for most of their life. Like, I wouldn't trust children with that at all. Unless we have decades or even hundreds of years of say, oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. 8-year-old, if your child tells you that they're wrong gender, change them. Cool. But we don't have that.
You say that though. But even as a child, I knew sort of where I was aligned. You know, like I would, when I would see like naked women.
Yeah.
Even as a child, I'd be like, yeah, that's all right. you know, like it would turn me on as a child, even as a child.
Yeah.
And there was never any at no point did I ever second guess whether or not I was a boy. I knew I was a boy.
Yeah.
I knew that women turned me on. Like there was never. It wasn't like all of a sudden, some point, I made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just was what I was.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, you are. Yeah, like it's the same. I mean, you know what you're attracted to, and you recognize what you're attracted to.
Even as a child, you knew you liked boys.
But like for example, one thing. So one of my really good
or maybe
friends,
not. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, you may feel like you're a man or woman and be attracted to not necessarily to the opposite gender, even as like whether you're a child or adult. So I don't know if it has an impact on. Yeah, how you'd want to see yourself in the future, how you'd want to look like, or how you want to be.
Well, I think that we're talking about two different things. So there's what turns you on, which is your sexual orientation,
correct,
and then there's your gender identity, and I don't think those. I think those are separate.
Oh yes, those are separate.
They can.
Like you could feel like you're a woman, but still like women.
Yeah.
That just means you want to be a lesbian.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say, because I think there's a difference between when you're a child, that's what's difficult to understand. Because I have a friend actually who's lesbian, and what she was saying is that when she was really young, she did like boys a lot. She liked boys a lot, but what she didn't understand is that she liked them a lot because she wanted to be like a boy, not because she was turned on by boys.
Well, probably because she liked hanging out with boys because that
exactly.
was so,
but she never thought any. So she thought like, well, she was a bit confused, but she was actually, but I actually quite like boys, but it wasn't in the same way.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there is a difference. There's like I like men and women.
Sure.
Very much. I have deep affection for men and women.
Just
women turn me on.
But exactly. So there's a difference between what turns you on and what you like. Because then you might like, like that's why you're aspiring to be, or like that you just like something about it, but it's not what turns you on. So there's a difference. Yeah.
But I think there are people that don't like men. I think there are women that don't. There are people that don't like women. And
that's true.
And that has nothing to do with whether or not they want to have sex with men or women. And it also has almost nothing to do with whether or not they feel like they are a man or a woman.
True.
Those are three very different concepts, right?
But when you're really
the conversation that's like around the whole gender thing, we're blending all of them together, which makes it more complicated to discuss.
I think even as adults, people get confused about that.
Yeah, even as adults. So imagine when you're young, you don't really understand.
I think a lot of men think, oh, lesbians don't like men. That's bullshit. Lesbians love me. I love lesbians. They're awesome. I really do. People believe
we all do. So there's
Well, no, I don't mean in a sexual way. I mean, just like, like a lot of times.
Just to hang out as a person.
But people get those things confused. They get gender identity, sexual orientation, and misogyny or misandry confused. They're not related to each other. They're all independent things. Yeah. You've got a friend who we shall not name, who doesn't like men very much, and that comes across. But she finds men sexually attractive.
That is true.
And and she's she doesn't like men. It's clear
she will not hang out with guys, but like she just go around anyways.
Yeah, I suspect she has no male friends.
That is very possible.
It's true.
I would say you're right. Yeah.
Whereas, and that's a good indication of whether or not somebody likes the opposite sex, is whether or not they have friends that's the opposite sex.
That's
and there are a lot of men that don't have a lot of women friends, and a lot of women that don't have men friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they clearly just don't care for the opposite sex, other than maybe for the stickity-ickity sex.
Sorry, what?
What was that word before?
What do you mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, those are it's odd. I think we as adults, so for children, I can imagine those concepts are just beyond. But the thing is even as a child, if you ask me like, does your Peter get hard when you look at naked women? I'd be like, yep.
But it's all facts. Like, okay, that's happening. I'm observing that. And there's no.
Yeah.
Okay.
You take out the how you feel like part.
Yeah.
So that's separate things you were saying.
Yeah. Whereas if you ask me, do you like boys? Well, yeah, boys are cool. Do you like girls? Yeah, girls are cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different kind of
That's true.
Those are all fundamentally different things. And then, do you feel like a boy? I'd be like, yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, no problems here.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's funny. My mom used to do the. So this is. I remember this distinctly from being a child. My mom used to push my hair back and be like, "Wouldn't he have made you such a beautiful girl?"
Really?
As a child, ask my mom. My mom will cop to this. She literally used to say that to everyone, and then the other ladies would be like, "You're right. You're such a pretty girl."
Didn't confuse you at all.
Right, and you're like, okay.
No, I never.
How old were you?
This is like most of my childhood, before puberty. Like that type of thing. Like my mom would do that. And the thing is now, in this day and age, I guarantee my mom would never do that.
No.
She'd be like, I don't want to confuse the boy. Like, there's so much going on. Whereas back then, there wasn't any confusion, right?
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, it wasn't acknowledged in the same way.
Yeah, it was not acknowledged in any way. And here we are, the three people, who are thinking probably about having kids in the next, so many years, right?
Yeah.
And we're sitting here talking about how we would deal with a child that either had a different sexual orientation.
It is tough. That's gotta be tough.
When you say that, sexual orientation, I'm fine with. I mean, if my son or my daughter, if my son came to me and was like, "Dad, I think I'm gay," I'd be like, "All right, well, just be the best cocksucker you can be."
Yeah, okay. That's not for a while.
Be good at it.
Yeah.
That would be my only. Like, that would be my only. Well, if you're going to be a cocksucker, learn to suck it well, son. Just get in there. Hands and everything. Just go for it.
Oh, I'm thinking about the friend from high school. Like, we were talking about children, like, that was maybe 15 years ago. Talking about, like, okay, what if you have a son that's gay? What would you do? And there was a guy who said, well, as long as he's on top, that's fine. Okay, that's a way to answer the question.
It's only gay if you give a reach out. You never heard that before?
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, like, that's none of my business. It's the one thing that who doesn't want to let the child decide is the transitioning because you're doing something to your body. And there's so many stuff that we wouldn't do that with. Like, you wouldn't give,
that's a lot tougher.
Alcohol to a child or weed. You go, oh yeah, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Because we know it has an effect, it potentially has an effect on your body or on your brain, so you don't do these things. But like, then the chemical that you put through someone, well, it's all natural stuff.
To keep them from starting puberty.
Exactly. Doing that, we know for a fact, like we're doing it purposely to alter, their body, the chemistry. So I don't know why we trust doing that, but not, giving some weed to a child. When we have,
you've convinced me, we need to let kids smoke weed.
Which I won't be fundamentally against that. I think it's perfectly fine to have a bit. Just a bit. Just like let them try.
I think
after a certain age.
I think when my kids hit teenage years, they start to experiment. I'll just be like, hey, let's have a talk.
You have to start really early because these days, like, kids start really early.
Just everything on the table.
Starting early. There would be a certain thing where it's like, no,
but it's not about,
you're not starting yet. Like, you can,
sure.
Like until they're like 16 or so. No, I don't want you doing a bunch of drugs and shit before that.
I know, yeah, but that's why you have to be really careful.
And then after that age, I'll be like, look, this is how you do that shit, and don't die, and don't,
Yeah, without hurting
Don't
yourself.
get something that's going to get you hooked up or, killed.
Yeah.
Because I would worry. I would worry about overdose, addiction, all of those things. Because it's so easy to fall into that if you don't understand the dangers of those things.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would sugarcoat it. I think I would be completely honest with my kids about how drugs work and how dangerous they are, and but also just give them the information and be like, this is what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. I can't stop you from doing anything. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. But goddamn, if you just be careful. This is how you be careful. And call me if there's any issue. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
have to be very open in conversation. Yeah, have a good relationship.
Don't rely on your friends to look out for you. If you feel like you're in trouble, you holler.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, they will leave you
because kids are afraid they're going to.
That's the stories you hear. Yeah. They just run away. Like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't get in trouble. As I said, just leave.
And that anyway, but it's going to get complicated. Now, raising kids nowadays, I think, is going to be one of the most complicated things you can do.
Yeah, and then social media is there. Like, now children.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, how old do your children before you give them a phone?
I think I give my kids a phone pretty early.
Like, how early are we talking? Like,
why are you?
But I would also have
parental
control. Yeah.
Because the thing is, I want my kids to have a phone, so if they go somewhere or something, I can get in touch with them.
Yeah.
Know where they are, etc.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just about what you want. Sometimes I think you start having pressure from like my niece, for example. She's not even 10, she's 9, and she has a phone now, completely controlled by my sister. But she had to open like the TikTok media account because everyone in school had one.
Wait, that's like, I think you need to be 13 for that.
Well, but precisely, for all the kids between 9 and 10, they're all doing videos and they're all sending them to each other, and they have these networks. So all the mothers are like, okay, we're all on the same thing, so they all have to monitor into it. But you can't avoid it because then even if my sister was like, no, you're not doing it. Everyone in school is doing it, so it's like.
They just want to be left out.
Yeah, exactly. So equally is like, okay, fine, you can have one, but I have the same account, so we have the same, so I can I can see who's,
Yeah, that's fair.
So I guess you can start really early because it's not just about your decision, it's about also what's happening and what, Are you pressuring us, like the friends pressure and stuff?
I just want to know what my kids are doing. I know they're going to do crazy shit.
But you need to know.
Because I did. I know my kids are going to be just as crazy as I was.
Some of us were not that crazy. And they still grew up really totally fine.
When I say I know my kids are going to be completely crazy, I know that if they're like me, they're going to be adventurous.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's enough. They might not be like me at all. They could be.
Hey, I was adventurous in my own way. Not as adventurous.
No. Actually, I would be over the moon if they were, sweet and innocent like you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Worst case
Even
scenario.
I laugh.
Yeah. And plus there's probably still the option to like have a tower like Rapunzel. What is it, Rapunzel?
Yeah.
And the princess with her. Yeah. Just don't let the hair grow, and that's fine.
No, I'm not gonna shelter my kids. I want there definitely going to be stages where they get more and more sort of freedom and stuff, so that they can learn to manage it. Because I think that's what us do. Is if you control your kids too much too early, then when they get the freedom and the opportunity,
A little bit wild, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That
you're
makes
better
sense.
off, being open from stuff, I think.
It's like just being constrained to eating lettuce every day for 20 years, and then you see a burger, you eat 10 of them right away. So, yeah, I can see that.
I would totally do that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be. It's funny though. Being gay in this day and age is actually a shit ton easier.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good
In
deal.
most societies, depending on where you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, I definitely tell my kids if you're gay, don't go to Iran.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like a good advice.
Good start, yes.
Yeah, don't go to the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to Russia, Poland.
Mm.
How in Poland?
Poland's quite anti.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Catholicism plays a lot into that.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah, a lot of religious.
Actually, in religion, like in the Bible, like gay people should be killed if you follow the text to the letter.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. But then it's more. That's the thing. I don't see that as a. Well, like I'm Catholic, but I don't see the Bible as a literal thing to follow to the letter.
and
No.
But you find that in communities that are more religious, there's a little less tolerance for LGBTQ issues, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, the black community in the US is a great example.
Mm.
Generally, very liberal, except that.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I definitely wouldn't want my kid to be black and gay in the US. That shit would be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the demographic I do not want my
the
child
worst
to be.
one, yeah. Because you hear stories like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah, black and gay in Mississippi. Do not want that for my child.
Mississippi is like south. Okay.
Yeah, the southeast. You don't want to go there. The only place you would want to go in the southeast is Atlanta, Georgia.
Like just there.
Just
nothing
Atlanta.
has.
Don't go outside of Atlanta. Just Atlanta.
Well, that bad. Like not even leaving the town and just walking around. I don't know, getting a sandwich somewhere.
Nobody. I mean, when you're going to like, if you were in the South in the Southeast for any period of time, you would experience racism.
All right.
And the South is everywhere from Virginia down to Florida, all the way from the East Coast all the way over to Arkansas, then down through Louisiana and the eastern part of Texas.
Right.
All of those places have a lot of problems with racism. And I grew up partially in Virginia, and I learned a lot about racism, unfortunately. And what you find is that the racism is endemic in the culture. So you have a long history of distrust between races, and what happens is, because of that, you have people that are racist that are black, and you have people that are racist that are white.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That makes sense.
And I totally understand that.
Yeah.
If you get a bunch of racist people, you might not like white people that much.
Yeah.
It creates the same.
That makes sense, yeah.
And now if you got a whole bunch of black people that don't like white people, you might not like black people that much.
Yeah. Just like, it's in the loop of...
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And to live in that society and not be racist means actively working against those feelings on a daily basis. It takes you, like, so if you lived in Mississippi for any period of time, you would have to actively work against, not hating white people. Because they would give you reasons to hate you. To hate it on a daily basis.
Okay, so that's what I mean by working. It's like, there'd be so much shit thrown my way that I become racist.
Yes.
In spite of, like...
Yeah. Yeah, it would be actually very hard, I think.
Okay.
I think if I were black, living in the Southeast, it would be... I think it would be harder to even be white and not be racist. You know what I'm saying? So growing up in I think if I were black growing up in Virginia, I would probably be a massively racist person. I would probably just hate fucking white people.
Wow, okay. Yeah, you think about, like, me, I get lucky that I didn't get that exposed to racism, like, throughout my life. So, yeah, it's always hard to picture, like, you know about documentaries and you see, like, you hear about conversations, mostly in the US, like, when you hear news stories and stuff, yeah, that's a thing. Like, there's really you know about the apartheid. Like, racism is a thing that's affecting people. And maybe I've get subjected to it without knowing. But then that's the thing, if you don't realize, it's that important.
We were in France, and I mentioned to her in Paris. I mentioned to her how not racist society
how everything seems to be. Exactly.
Because the thing is what you notice in societies that are racist too, you'll see this, is that black people and white people don't hang out much, and there tend to be areas where black people are at and areas where white people are at.
Yeah.
In societies in which there isn't very much racism, there's a lot less of that. There's not places where black people hang out, places where white people hang out. People hang out together. And when we were in Paris, I was like, people are hanging out together. It is all right. like nobody seems... Like there aren't areas where like one culture or group of people or whatever seem to just be and not hang out with other folks. Especially between the black and white folks, at least.
I think in Paris, you don't have... Well, at least I haven't experienced racism there. But I guess people will be dicks, but for different reasons, not because of your race. They won't be shit dicks because they're Parisian.
That happens everywhere, right? I mean, there's always going to be someone who's a dick, but yeah.
Like people will be shitty, but not because you're black or white or whatever. But you're not from Paris. Don't like you. Which is a stupid thing. It's like as dumb as a race thing, but we like to think, okay, that's fine. That is not race, just because you're not from Paris, we don't like you, which...
It's still shitty.
Yeah. You might even see that shitty, because, like, if you think about the racism part, yeah, okay, Paris, overall, you have white people mostly, you're like, okay, we don't like anyone outside of our circle, which, yeah. I think if you leverage it against racism, it seems okay, but if you take out racism as a factor, like, it's shit, it's bad.
Yeah? So you're from Paris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I was fine with.
And as a Parisian, do you not like people from not Paris?
Well, I'm not a fan of people outside Paris in France. But then people outside Paris in France are not fans of people in Paris. So that's, yeah. I guess it's fair. It's fair on this point.
So my experience in Paris is people were very nice.
Yeah, people were very nice to us. I've always had the same experience.
I had the exact opposite experience that I was told I was going to have. I was told the food was going to be good, and the people were going to be shitty. And it was
we struggle with the food.
It was exactly the opposite. The food was pretty shit.
Yeah, because
the wrong Paris. Like, what did you
I was gonna say because we went to lots of we were just in tourist areas.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
We didn't know any better, and so we ended up in like really touristy stuff, which wasn't great in terms of food. But people were very, very.
There was
nice.
that one waiter that had just the killer body odor. Yeah. And what's funny is like she was sitting next to the wall. And he would come over, and every time he would walk past, and he was walking past all the time because he's serving tables over here.
Yeah.
And every time he would walk past, I'd get hit in the face with his like rampant body odor. And I was like, oh, God, baby, this sucks so much. She goes, I don't smell anything. I think, you know, and I'm like, and I'm eating, while I'm eating my whole meal, I'm like getting blasted with like just body odor. And I'm just like, oh, this is not great. And she's like, no, this is great. I'm having my croquette. What is it? What would you have? Fine. And I'm like, and at the end
just
of it,
before we paid. Yeah.
And just before we paid, we switched seats. And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was glad to have had my meal.
Yeah, without that.
Without that. On the other seat.
That man has never seen a bar together in his life. Oof.
Wow.
He was nice, though.
He was really good.
Well, it better be nice for that. I mean.
Yeah.
You gotta have something nice, right? You gotta be.
Yeah, you better make up.
You better make up for that. Yeah.
But I think the reason why we didn't get good food is because we were
just in tourist places.
We're in tourist traps,
Yeah.
and the thing is, everything's ridiculously expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah. And so I said next time, if we ever go to Paris again, that we should go out and stay maybe out near Versailles.
Yeah, because it was a hotel. Like, I've got like really
nice, like
central
20
and
out
stuff.
now.
And it's a little bit further out, probably less expensive, less tourist trappy stuff.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
No?
Not that I recall.
Well, all right, you know what? You're from Paris. Why the hell did I ask you? Where should I go?
Yeah, so I have a few places in mind that I went with Gilda the last time I went there. So I'll send them you. I'll send them to you. There's two in particular that were really good that we went to. That I hadn't been before, but I really liked them. Like once that's, I don't know if you know the Saint Denis Island. It's like, well, it's not really an island. Well, it's kind of an island that's linked to Paris only by bridges inside Paris behind Notre Dame.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of like little restaurants, and there was one which I forgot the name of, which was really good that we went to.
How did you react to Notre Dame?
So I thought, well, that sucks, but then I didn't get devastated by it. I thought, oh well, I didn't see how it affected me aside from the historical part. Because Notre Dame in itself, it's like a church that it got rebuilt several times. It's not like a thing that's been there forever and that never got damaged ever. It's like, there's been a few rebuilding, like a few. Yeah, there's been some works going on there, and it's actually during works that the fire started. So, yeah, I don't mind that much. Like, you know what I mind is the whole reaction to it. Like, not the reaction to it, but like the reaction to the reaction. Like, you had a few people, like, you know, millionaires and stuff, billionaires that donated money for Notre Dame, which is great, which is amazing. Well, then like people coming and say, oh, why did you give money for Notre Dame? We don't care about religion. Give money for that other thing over there. Like, the fuck? Like, and that's their own money. They do whatever they want with it. So why would you go and tell them what they can do with their money when they're donating for cause that they care about?
You know what's funny? That makes me think about something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, who is it? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're donating the vast majority of his wealth.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett is also he's donating to that same charity, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And so they're, of course, they've amassed, both of those guys have amassed massive amounts of money.
Yeah.
Billions.
You can't even picture like seeing that on your I can't imagine having that much wealth. Like you don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But they do. So.
All right. So they're giving it away for charity. But I'm going to flip this on its head.
Right.
That pisses me off. Because they literally could have just paid the people that worked for them more.
Yeah, that helped them make the wealth.
That helped them make the wealth.
Yeah.
The janitor that cleaned up the toilet at Microsoft could have had a much more decent life had he been paid a decent freaking wage. Mm-hmm. The people that actually did the work to build all of that could have made, you could have given that money to them. Instead, you go, no, I'm going to keep all that money for me. Fuck you, right? Even though you're helping me make all this wealth, I'm only going to give you what the market tells me I have to give you, and I'm going to keep everything else for myself. And then I'm going to go off and be charitable because I'm a hero. No, you're not a hero. You're a thief. You're a robber. You've taken that money from the people that helped you make it. And now it's your money, and you go, I can spend this on anything I want. Well, you can, but you're a dick.
So, okay. Yeah, that's a good, I never thought about it that way. But then I wouldn't call them thieves as in, well, you have a certain level of sneak that you have to have, like, when you build that, the sort of empire that they've been building, like, with Bill Gates, with Microsoft, and Brad Pitt with, I think it's like investment banker
Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett worked in a lot of insurance, but he basically did investments.
Yeah.
He created a company that invested in other companies.
Yeah. So like that's mean I see it as in like they took big risks like to create their business and stuff. So they get a certain amount of reward. Then I guess when you get to a certain level, you can just play safe by, saving as much money as you can on stuff and take it to yourself. Yeah, I wouldn't call it stealing, as in, yeah. Maybe because I haven't been on the other end directly, like somebody who's making a massive fortune.
But you are on the other end of it.
Well,
you're already on the other end of it.
From being in a company.
And the company that I work for, I guarantee you, there are people making bank.
Yeah.
And am I getting paid what I'm worth?
I don't know, maybe. I think I bet
you would gasp at the figure if we could actually quantify what my effort throughout my career has been versus how much I've been paid for it.
Alright, if you go there in terms of software, I think we get paid less than the value of the thing that we deliver in the end.
Yeah, and the value of what you're delivering.
Yeah. But then, you're right. The market dictates what we get paid based off the skills that we have and like stuff that we've done.
But and then you look at Bill Gates and you go, "Oh, he took a big risk." No, he didn't. He was in the right place at the right time. He happened to be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time.
But you have to do a thing to get there.
He did DOS.
Yeah.
With Paul Allen. He and Paul, I think, worked in his garage and created DOS, which then went to IBM, and then he built up Windows, and they did all but by that time, they actually started doing Windows and all of the Office stuff and all of the other things that they were doing.
Yeah.
He wasn't writing anything.
No, at that point, he was just dead.
He was taking it to the bank.
He just really got the thing.
Because his operating system was on all of these IBM clones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to keep pushing for that. And he managed to get a monopoly.
Yeah.
A massive monopoly
yeah.
on the operating system.
Yeah.
Right? And basically, he's robbed society blind. Because he's got a... Basically, he should have never had the opportunity to have a monopoly. If there had been actually more free and fair competition inside that market, everybody would be better off. But there wasn't. And he actually worked really hard to make sure that there wasn't. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a commercial.
But then the thing is that, like, who knew if you get something that you build that you can have a monopoly, would you not work to try to get as big a share of the market as you can?
Yeah.
Because you're driving yourself by like what you deliver and like how you perform in the end. And if others come and compete against you to just take some of the case from you.
It's definitely the role of the state to prevent those monopolies.
I was going to say, it's the role of the state, but it's not the role of like you as a...
Well, you shouldn't be actually... As a matter of fact, there are already laws against unfair practice. As a matter of fact, they've gotten dinged multiple times because of that.
So now
they promoted IE and just trounced Netscape Navigator. Remember that?
Yeah.
So,
I never used it, so I'm guessing that the monopoly thing worked out.
I used it.
I remember when the internet didn't exist, JD.
Yeah.
What do you think is a fair distribution of wealth? How much should the top guy make versus the lowest guy? So the guy that cleans the toilets, how much should he make versus how much the guy at the top makes? What's fair?
I don't even put it like that, as in like the one at the top against the one at the bottom, but more as in, well, in terms of effort, cleaning the toilets is pretty hard. Like, well, if it's just for one classroom when I'm here, like, yeah, that's work. That's fair work. Like, but then, question would be, how many people could replace that person there? Like, in terms of market, you'd go, right, it's really hard to keep that person. Like, and if that person is not happy, they're gonna leave. And based off, what's the impact if they leave tomorrow?
So that's a good question. So, but do you think the people that produced the majority of that wealth were the people that got paid for that wealth?
Maybe not. Like, I can't answer the question because I don't know the facts.
So you look around at the technologists that actually created the things that we absolutely rely on.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't make any money. The guys that created the technology...
Chances are, they didn't. It's
the people that managed to navigate a corporate ladder or be in the right place at the right time. Or, it's not the people that actually did
Build the thing.
produce the value.
All right, I see what you mean by
It's
from
not-
being like around that place of people building value. Yeah.
It's not the visionaries. It's not the people that actually have the ideas. It's the people that lead the people that have the ideas. And a lot of times, leading the people that have the ideas is just getting out of the way and letting them get it done properly. That's what I try to do, if possible. You know, and that's a hard job. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want the job of my boss or my boss's boss, because that basically I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I would be politicking. That's not
Which nobody really wants to do in general, right?
Yeah, it's not my thing. I don't enjoy it, and it's not. I don't find. You know, I like actually doing the things.
Yeah, not talking about maybe doing the thing.
Yeah, or coming up with I like actually solving the problems and identifying the problems. I like doing that type of stuff. I don't like dealing with all of the egos of the upper echelon of the company and the absolutely sociopathic tendencies of those people.
Yeah.
It's an environment I don't.
So I think that even as someone who has to deal with that, and they may or may not enjoy it, which is
yeah. I mean, that's what my boss and my boss's boss do. Is they deal with shit like that all the time, and I'm like, nope, don't want it. Do not want it.
yeah. I mean, that's stuff like I'm trying to. Well, I mean, at this right now, I just want to focus on writing the best software I can.
Yeah. That's
when I leave. That I can leave at any point in time, and anyone can come after me and pick it up.
That's the right. That is the right way to think about it. That's it, and that's an idea you need to instill in anybody you lead.
Yeah. But it feels hard, as in whether I'm leading or not in projects. I feel like not everyone will necessarily be thinking about that. I think, well, there's us we need to do that thing, and need to be doing that. Like, yeah, all right. So what about testing? What about documentation? How is someone who comes join us tomorrow going to jump on the project? They need 2 hours to be able to do what we're doing every day, or they're going to need 2 months because just what we're doing is so confusing to them.
Yeah.
So the idea is to just make things easy for everyone to jump in.
Everything you're saying is 100% correct.
Yeah.
That is the right philosophy.
Actually, I saw a former colleague who shared that post on LinkedIn asking about, what you want to, like, what I mean, software, what you want to do. And that's when my reply was, well, this is what I was telling you, that I want to build resilient software that will be, as little bugs as possible, but if it does have some that anyone can come behind me to extend and build on top of it without getting lost or without having to spend months figuring out what the fuck I did.
I always tell my developers, I was like, working software is not the minimum requirement. It's the software, the minimum requirement. And that's the other thing, is working software. I would rather have broken software than have that I can work on and understand than working software that I can't.
Yeah.
So
if it doesn't work, but that you can understand it, it's easier to fix it all and build on top of it.
Make it work, yeah.
But if it works and you don't know why, it's easier to break it and not know why you're breaking it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So most of the time I try to get people into understanding how to do tests. And testing is in and of itself a very difficult topic, because most people think testing's good. All testing's good. Yeah. That's absolutely
well, it depends what you mean by testing. Like, if you think about... So actually, you're the first one who mentioned the term of like pyramids of testing, like to me, like the whole, 70-ish% of unit tests, then 20-ish of integration. No, it's integration. Like component test, and then the other one is integration, which is the smallest amount, because it should be just happy path, like mostly happy path stuff, and the rest should be anything more specific case, because it's faster to run the more you go down.
That's right.
So those are the ones you should repeat frequently as long as you change software. Yeah.
So the first question I ask people when I try to get them to think about testing properly is, when do you get value from a test? So testing, all the work you do for testing is cost.
Yeah.
It's just cost and maintenance. When do you receive the value?
Well, it depends on. To me, it depends on how much it takes you to change the software beyond, like how it takes you to fix something based off the test that you're writing. Like, if you break stuff and you test it, oh yeah, there's a problem here, and you fix it, that's where you get your value. But if you get bugs or issues and your test don't tell you, well, don't have value from the test that you have at that point in time, but you can build value by adding tests to make sure that that issue doesn't come back to haunt you later. Because you're like, okay, let's run a test to validate that that thing is happening, which should not be happening. Then you fix your bug, or like fix your code so it's, passes.
Let's do this one. You got a test.
Yeah.
And you write it.
Right.
And every time you change software, you might have to modify it a little bit. And that test never fails. Has that test added any value ever?
But if it never fades, no.
Because the moment that test fails is when it prevents you from putting a bug into the next environment.
Yeah.
So you only yield value from tests when they fail.
Yeah, correct.
Everything else is just cost.
Yeah.
So that,
But then you could, if you go there, you could infer that, right, I can write no test, but I have no cost from tests because I have no issue, I can just go to prod.
that's right.
One could say, all right, tests are costly, let's just go to production right away. I just want to face the issues, we write the test to prevent the issues. But I don't think it would stop you from, writing a set of tests that should avoid you running into the issues that you expect to face once you go.
So I think not writing any tests costs you more in the end.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. So one of them is you end up finding bugs. I mean, you're gonna get bugs, and you have to do that. The other thing is it influences your architecture. So when you don't write tests, you don't write testable code, and testable code tends to be a lot cleaner and easier to maintain code.
Yeah.
So we definitely need tests. So no tests is bad.
Yeah.
But not all tests are good.
Right.
So, and you only really get value from your tests when it catches a bug that would otherwise make it to the next environment.
Right.
And then the other thing is if you write tests that every time you change the code you have to change the test, that increases.
There's something wrong with the test.
Well, it increases maintenance cost.
Yeah.
Right? So your goal should be to write tests that the code itself can change without you having to change the test. But the test will still protect you from the bad behavior of the software.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, like, you'd write software that, you'd write your test to validate a behavior, but then whatever the software does internally should not be any concern for the testing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it is cheaper because you don't have to change it every 5 months or every 5 hours.
That's right, yeah. So some of the traditional unit testing I've seen is exactly that. They test every layer. Yeah, they don't test paths, they test these individual.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that. Like, yeah.
And that's the thing. I saw a test one time that literally is object and it did this. Have I told you about this before?
Test that's like, well, I've seen a bunch of tests that were just getters of classes that were doing nothing but having values.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen tests that are literally the repetition of the code. So I remember. So there was one test that basically it was there was an object and there was a toString method on the object, and the toString method. Are you right?
Yeah, I think I went
Down the wrong way.
wrong one yet. Okay, let's have some more.
Yeah, whiskey fixes everything.
Yeah, that's good.
So the test basically does a toString method, right? And what the toString method does is it takes every property and concatenates it together into the thing.
All right.
So I was looking at this thing and I added another property to that class. And so I added, I saw the toString method on it. I was like, oh, I should add this property to the toString method, with the property name thing, because that's what the toString method does. So
Right.
clearly I should just add it. So I did. Because if I see a pattern in code, normally I continue to follow the pattern, right?
Yeah.
And I run the tests, and the test fails. And I go, oh, okay. What's happening here? So the test failed because I added that new property to the toString, and it didn't match what was expected from the toString.
Yeah, which was based on what was in the code.
Well, how the method that tested that code was written was it basically took an object and concatenated all of its properties together.
Right.
So it was literally exactly the same code that was in the thing. So basically, they've written the code twice. They did exactly the same thing. And if I change this code, the test fails. So in order to fix the test, what do?
Write the same code into
I basically take the code and copy and paste it into my test.
That's not a test, yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, it's something you should be doing.
No,
So what did that test prevent? Nothing.
nothing.
Now, on the other hand, if I had a bit of code that was consuming that class and depended on the format of the toString, right, expecting...
That'd be a different story. Then it actually does something. It's not just there.
Not only that, but if I had that, then I would write a test. But my test would be on the thing that consumes the toString. And it would say, I'm expecting the third thing to be this thing. I need it to be that thing. Therefore, do that. So if I got different behavior from my dependency, now I've got an error. Now, if I add something to the end of it and it doesn't change the thing that it depends on,
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Right?
I mean, like, not changing the implementation, like changing like the interface, like how it interacts with something else.
So
And they say, okay, let's say it returns that test value, and I want to check that final test value is doing what I'm going to do, but not like the specific of the implementation. Which, yeah, that's how you should write
test.
Yeah.
That's it. but that concept is very, very hard for people to understand. And I remember when I was the place I was at before POC, right, a couple of jobs before that. I pointed out to the lead. I was like, hey, I think we need to delete this test. It's pretty useless. He's like, no, that's a good test. I was like, I don't think it is.
I can guarantee it's not.
It's literally just double the maintenance cost for that piece of code. Like literally, just every time I change that, I need to change that. And the thing is if I'm familiar with that code, what am I going to do?
Just test the bug. And if you have a bug,
I'm going to change it every time. Every time I change this code, I'm going to change that code. Because I know I don't want my test to break. Well, what's my test testing? Nothing. Literally nothing.
You could be testing that the bug you've introduced is actually running well.
So testing is this tricky thing. It's a double-edged sword that people don't understand. But you really need to understand the cost of maintenance of the tests. And you need to understand what you're trying to test. And you need to understand how to effectively exercise your code and check for bugs with as little maintenance as possible. So that's your goal. Your goal is to test your code. And that's the other thing. You want to make sure you go down every code path you have in your code.
Yeah.
And your tests need to make sure that you're exercising those paths. Because in any one of those paths, if you don't go down it, you could potentially have a bug.
Yeah.
And then anytime you do catch a bug, the first thing you should do is write a test to make sure to test,
reproduce that the bug is what you think it is.
Yes. Yeah. And then fix the code. And the test passes. And then everything's good.
Yeah.
But that's hard. It's a hard testing is one proper testing is one of the hardest things to learn as a software engineer, and it's also one of the hardest things to teach. And right now, I'm right now in the middle of teaching my front end devs how to write tests properly.
Right. Like when you say test, you mean test like, as in when you come from back end like perspective, you mean test in terms of code or test in terms of even user experience throughout the software. Like, because if they're front end guys, I'm guessing they're dealing more with UI and UX than logic.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to set up 2 levels of testing on the front end. The first level of testing is the sort of behavioral testing of the components. So we're doing React, so we have a component-based architecture, containers components. And I just want to teach them how to exercise their code paths in their containers.
All right.
Because the components are just pure rendering components.
Okay, so they don't do anything, you can just test that rendering is what you'd want to have.
Even that, so they have this thing in React to do snapshot testing, which is basically you go, take a snapshot, this is what rendered last time. If next time it's not the same thing, throw an error. I was just like, no, get rid of all
That's weird. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you're adding a new component because you need it, why should the test fail because you're adding something new?
Because you changed something, right? It's like, oh, well, that'll keep you from accidentally doing something. It's like, No, that's not how you do testing. Delete all the snapshot tests. So that's the first thing. So when I said, okay, we're doing testing, of course, all the guys started writing their own tests. Yeah. And one of the things you can do with enzyme jest and React is snapshot testing, which is a fundamentally useless function. You should be testing code paths and behavior. So we're going to do, I've just got to teach them how to actually test the behavior of their component to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And what that looks like, how to compose those tests. So that's one of the things I can do. And then I also need to show them how to do end-to-end tests, which are the happy path tests that we're talking about. Those are the big mamma jamma that take forever to run. But again, if I've got a user that needs to do this thing, and that's the core functionality of this thing,
you want to make sure that you can still do this thing when you push code through.
That's correct, yeah. And I don't want Melissa, who's my tester, who's awesome, to have to point and click and do that. I want to write the test that she's got in her test plan that confirm that the application still works. I want to automate all of those, and I'll do that with Test Cafe. I prefer to use Cypress, but Cypress doesn't support multiple browsers.
I thought this. I know like Selenium to do browser testing.
Yeah, Selenium encourages. So Selenium is one of those things where you can get somebody that doesn't know anything about software to be able to write tests.
Yeah.
And the problem is that encourages the worst kind of tests, which are tests that take a long time to run. And these are end-to-end tests again, right?
Yeah.
So they actually do. They're incredibly costly in terms of your infrastructure and everything else. They also tend to. So this is the other thing. You want those tests to run quickly because it's part of your. Because you're gonna want to run these things as part of your integration testing in your integration environment.
Yeah.
So when I do a build, deployment, and test, if I have to wait an hour to find out whether or not my tests have run, and then I have to go in there and look through the logs of the test to figure out which test failed, and then I got to go back to the dev environment and
try to reproduce.
Yeah. That
your day's gone for one run test phase.
That's exactly right. So you want to really make sure that the people that are writing those tests have a depth of understanding how to make that scale, so that you really don't want any sort of test run taking more than say a few minutes, if at all possible.
Yeah.
And with our backend testing, most of our tests are literally takes a couple minutes for everything, the whole thing. We can test our whole backend API. Just need to make sure that we have the same philosophy in front. But it's literally one of the things that they're. But they're good. They're really good. We've just now the front end. We're starting to sort of develop more rigor in my front end developers. Where the back end,
you got it pretty much. Yeah,
that shit is tight right now. So that's why I focused there first, and now I'm realizing we've got some
front end.
Yeah, we got some problems on the front end.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned this like there was some weird stuff going on in front end.
Oh my god! Literally, so we had this project start, and it was like, okay, this is a number one priority. We gotta get this done. We've got these aggressive deadlines. Let's get it done. Da 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 da. And the developers interpreted that as I can violate all of our standards.
Write as fast as you can about everything that you need to follow. Yeah.
And I saw it. So basically, it's trash. The code is trash. And I'm just like, when I saw it, I was just like, this doesn't follow any of our standards.
Right.
Like, this is literally, we have standards that say specifically not to do any of these things. Didn't get picked up. And I helped them develop the standards and write them down. And I said, okay, all code reviews now, we follow these standards. So I'm just assuming
that they're
just going to follow. Did they agree? Yeah.
And I looked at the code and I was like, this is, what? Like, totally, tried not to freak out that much. And I was just like, how did this happen? So now we follow container pattern, which basically means that in React, we use React Redux. Container pattern basically just means all of your sort of logic, you're talking to the Redux store, state persistence, all that stuff is in your containers. Right. And your components are just pure rendering components. They're just HTML.
Alright.
Well, they're actually not. They're TSX and
There's
JSX.
stuff like you push stuff, events with them, or what does it look like?
Well, the rendering components, you can attach events to them and stuff. So you pass the events in from the parent container.
Right.
But the parent container handles all the events, all the persistence, everything.
Okay.
So that way you have a separation of the rendering from the logic. It's just a good way to separate the concerns and get people to break things down into small pieces.
Yeah, which helps testing, because you test smaller components, and you can test more combination without having to write thousands of lines of code. Once it's really simple.
Everything you're saying. And so now I have a requirement for us to do an architectural design of our components and our containers before we actually implement. We have to agree upon it, and our tickets are based on that. Because I'm getting people, because what was happening is developers were just going in and starting to write code.
Right.
Instead of thinking about what they were writing, designing it, and then implementing it. All the front end guys were just, it was literally the Wild West. They were just...
Every about their component, they just put everything in there and like, whatever, it's fine. It's working.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so now we're getting a more rigorous process on the front end to go, okay, these are the components, these are containers, this is these are the methods that are in the containers, this is the stuff that goes in the components, you know. And now the code review should be based on, you look at that, is it what we designed, so that we actually have that. Right now, that application I was talking about, we're actually developing the container component architecture design documents for what it should have looked like.
What? So wait.
So we have an application that we can't just throw away the code because we just wrote it.
Okay.
The business would freak out if I told them that it was end of life. So we have to refactor it in place.
Okay. So you're writing documentation about what it should have been like, but what it will end up being like. Not like it should have been like, but we're doing something different.
That's correct.
Okay, because that would have not made sense otherwise.
Yeah. So that's the first thing is what does good look like?
Yeah.
So we've got bad, but what does good look like?
Yeah.
Now that we know what good looks like, make the bad look like the good. Right. Slowly break it apart into the pieces that it should have been broken apart into.
That makes sense. Well, we wanted to have the talk of like, okay, that's how bad this is. And then as you improve, like build on that, okay, right, now it's better because we've done that, and we've done that, we've done that. And maybe you have to have the good as in like, that's the target to set ourselves to. But I don't know what you mean, like when you say documents, do you mean like documenting as in state of what's there or state of where you're going with it?
Where you're going. So basically it's an idealized architecture.
Right.
And the reason why you do that is because so there are two ways to do it. One is it's end of life, toss it, and rebuild it from the ground up.
Right.
Which we can't do. The business won't live. I can't.
Well, that's money spent already.
We literally just built it.
Yeah.
If I turn around and go, it's end of life, they're going to go,
what? Yeah.
what the hell were you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, well, I was assuming that but I'm not going to throw my development team under the bus.
No, but just a bunch of P45 flying around. Like,
Yeah.
So
yeah, no.
So basically, what I've said is, okay, guys. Well, A, I got a different developer on it, and then B, it's one of those things where you have to refactor it. It has to be refactored. It has to be broken down into these pieces. But we need to know what those pieces are, because so here's the thing: if I just say to one of my guys, so and so, refactor, as you're modifying that, refactor it into the right state.
Yeah.
The refactoring is going to reflect the mistakes of the existing code.
right.
So the state that it's in is going to influence what
The state
the
is
developer.
gonna be.
That's right. So the refactor, well, it might simplify that, won't actually reflect what is a good architecture.
Yeah, it's just doing what you can, what you have, and it might end up at some point going towards what you wanted at first, but maybe you'll end up with something that could be worse or better, but you can't know until you've done it.
It's not. Yeah, it's going to be not quite as good as if you go, okay, this is what it should have done, and then you go, okay, this is what you're shooting for, and then when people start to break out pieces of functionality and components, they'll break it out in the idealized architecture because they have a guide document to say this is what it should have looked like.
Yeah.
thanks you guys for listening all the way through, and thanks again to Gilda and Josh for joining me in this episode despite their busy schedules. If you want to support the show, you can just show up, listen to episodes, share it with your friends, families, dogs, talk about it. Another thing you can do as well is downloading the Brave browser. What's Brave? Glad you asked. Brave basically is cock blocking, but for trackers and all that creepy shit big tech companies just throw at you. You know, Facebook, Google, and whatnot are able to spy on what you're doing, even when you're logged out, by using trackers on website. Like when you see a like button somewhere, that's them. They know that you were there, even if you're not logged in, because they can reconcile the data. I would know because I'm an IT person. And yeah, Brave blocks all of that bullshit. And you can support your favorite content creators and websites thanks to a crypto wallet assigned to you for free. So you can download it at brave.com/PEO45. brave.com/PEO45. Until they give me a proper code like PDW or some shit like that. Like, yeah. Well, peace guys.